I'm a former visa officer, and these are my top tips for those who are applying for a B1, B2 tourist visa in 2023. What makes 2023 special? Visa wait times. In 2019, the advice would be a little bit different because if you apply in 2019, there's a 1-week wait time almost everywhere in the world. Now though, there are places in the world that have 800, 900-day wait times. So you know you might only have this one chance at that visa interview. One chance. And whatever that result is, you're going to have to stick with that for the next few years, especially if you're in your home country getting refused. So those long wait times mean that one visa appointment that you get is all the more precious, and you need to be intent on preparing, on focusing, on knowing your highlights, on how you're going to present your case to the visa officer, because it's the only chance you're going to get. And how are you going to do that? You have to know your highlights. As a B1, B2 applicant, you're a tourist. It's not a student program, it's not a work program. There are any number of things that could be your highlights. Maybe it's your prior travel around the world. Maybe it's your job. Maybe it's your family. Maybe it's your education. Whatever it is, you need to identify that. We can help you with that. You need to identify that so that you know in the interview, whatever questions you're asked, you can pivot and present your highlights to the visa officer so that they know what these highlights are. So they're not making this decision without knowing these highlights. The visa officers, especially for a B1, B2 tourist visa application, are making a decision very quickly. They're making a decision even subconsciously before they even know they've made the decision. Within 15, 20 seconds, they already know which direction they're going. They're already halfway down the path to issuance or to refusal. They're just asking more questions to fill in the gaps, to collect more evidence to support that notion that they've already gotten in their head about whether you are a qualified applicant or if they're going to refuse you. So you need to identify those highlights. If you're applying in your own country and you're going for a visa appointment where there's a long wait time, you have to be super prepared, because if you get denied in your own country, you will not be able to get issued, most likely, in another country. Why? In another country, they're going to look at that refusal from your own country and think of that as the authoritative decision. Why? Let's take an example. Let's say Italy. If you're refused in Italy and then you go to France, the visa officers in France are going to look at that record. They're going to see, oh, this is an Italian who's been refused by the US visa officers in Italy, who are trained in Italian, who live in Italy, who have been trained in the circumstances of visa applicants in that country, and they decided that this person did not merit a visa. Who am I, trained in France, to make a decision against what they've already decided in Italy? That's what's hard about being a third country national who's already been refused in your own home country. So take it very seriously if you're in a country that has a long visa wait time. The other thing that you need to be considering if you're applying for a B visa and you are from one of those countries and you don't already have a visa appointment scheduled is that you might need to go to another country. If you're in Mexico, for instance, there's an over 800-day wait time. Well, maybe you can't wait that long. Maybe you've got an urgent business trip. Maybe you've got a relative undergoing medical treatment. Maybe you just want to go on vacation, okay? Now, you can apply in another country, but you need to take into consideration some special things because you're going to be what's considered a third country national. Third country national means that you are applying in a country where you are not from. You are not a citizen, you are not a passport holder of the country where you are applying for the visa. When the visa officers see that passport, just like I said before, they're going to think, well, I don't know I've not been trained in Mexican visa applicants. If you're a Mexican applying in a different country, or if a Chinese person's applying in Ecuador, the visa officers are going to think, what do I know about Chinese people? I've not been trained in Chinese language, in Chinese society, anything like that, okay? Now, hopefully you don't have that prior refusal from your home country in the background, so you will get a shot. I'm not going to call it a fair shot because it's going to be a much higher threshold you have to overcome as a third country national, but you will get a shot. Don't go in passively. If you go in passively, you're just hoping this visa officer knows enough, a modicum of information about your country that they'll feel comfortable enough issuing your visa. All right, that's not what you want. You want to be proactive. You need to educate that visa officer about your situation. You might need to let them know what a middle class family situation looks like in your country and why your situation is so stable. Let them know why you are in that country applying and not in your own country. They may be confused. Why is this person here? Why aren't they applying in their own country, right? This is where you have to be proactive. You have to take the initiative and give them this information, even if it's not the questions that they're asking you. Now, many people ask us, where should they choose to apply as a third country national? That's tough. And it depends on where you're from. The answer is going to be different every time. What we take into account are some factors like the size of the post. A bigger post is going to be a better post to apply at as a third country national. Why? Because at a bigger post, they're doing more visas. More visas means more experience. More experience means that they've seen a thing or two, right? They're not going to be shocked by seeing somebody come in from another country. Another factor is, does that post see a lot of people from your country? Okay, so for instance, Russians. Many Russians right now are applying for visas in Kazakhstan. In Kazakhstan, they have seen a lot of Russian visa applicants. They're not shocked when a Russian visa applicant comes up to their window. Now, if that Russian were to go and apply for a visa in Namibia, it'd be a different story. The Namibian visa officer probably has never interviewed a Russian before, and they're going to be shocked at meeting one, then they're not going to know how to deal with it. So you want to go somewhere where they're familiar with people from your country. Lastly, it's the visa wait times, right? Sometimes there's a good option, but there's no visa appointments available. And that's something that is making it very difficult right now for many people who are in the same situation as you.